Sudiksha Konanki, the college student who vanished in the Dominican Republic, has been in the news a lot lately. But as the investigation into her disappearance continues, what are the potential legal challenges at play? From evidence to Interpol to various law enforcement agencies, we're going to dig into those possible legal impediments, and we will do so with somebody who knows a thing or two about foreign investigations, the private investigator who worked on the Natalee Holloway case. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. Jesse Weber. This is a story that has dominated the headlines. The disappearance of 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki, the University of Pittsburgh student who vanished from the beach of the Rue Republic Hotel in the Dominican Republic in the early morning of March 6th. This is out in Punta Cana. And what we want to focus upon right now are the legal challenges in this story, the legal issues that we should be thinking about, because those can be quite problematic in an international investigation like this. Now, at the time of this recording, what do we know? We know that the man linked to Sudiksha's disappearance, in fact, the person reportedly believed to be the last person seen with her, although, let's be clear, not named a suspect or currently facing any criminal charges, is 22-year-old American Joshua Stephen Riibe from Iowa, a senior at St. Cloud State University in Minnesota. According to CNN and Fox 5 News, he apparently told local authorities that he and Sudiksha met that night, went out on the beach, she was giving him kisses, they went into the water. This was estimated around 4:15 a.m. They were hit by a major wave that dragged them into the sea. They tried to call for help. No one was around. Again, this is his account. And again, according to Fox 5, he claims he was able to pull Sudiksha up to shore where she was still in the water, but he says he ended up throwing up from all the water he ingested, laid down on a beach chair, passed out, and he claims when he woke up, Sudiksha was gone. In fact, according to the Daily Mail, he said, the last time I saw her, I asked if she was okay. I didn't hear her reply because I started vomiting all the water I had swallowed. After vomiting, I looked around. I didn't see anyone. I thought she had grabbed her things and left. The issue is, as reported by People, Riibe allegedly gave different accounts of what happened during the course of several interviews. And by the way, that includes him now being questioned over the weekend by Jenny Berenice Reynosa, the Dominican Attorney General. This is according to Fox News. And if you've been following this story, you also know that surveillance footage has provided a key clue in this case. According to reporting from outlets like CNN and the Daily Mail, Sudiksha was last seen on surveillance with others, including Riibe, walking to the beach again around 4 a.m. And then you apparently see her friends come back 2 hours later to go to their rooms. Riibe apparently is seen returning around 9 a.m. And of course, Sudiksha is not seen on camera returning, but her friends apparently reported her missing later that afternoon. But in a recent turn of events, the Daily Mail is now reporting that there is additional released surveillance footage of both Sudiksha and Riibe throwing up at a bar inside the hotel. This is before she apparently went to the beach and disappeared. And while local authorities have indicated that this is not being treated as a criminal investigation, to be clear, Riibe has not been classified as a suspect. It is believed currently by local authorities that this may be an accident, possibly an accidental drowning. But there are many developments happening in this investigation, provide a lot of potential legal issues, legal challenges. I mean, according to ABC News, the local prosecutor's office said it is, quote, conducting multiple investigating steps that extend beyond a possible accidental event. And NBC has indicated that he was seen with his father, his investigators, his attorney on a beach in Punta Cana just yesterday morning, pointing out to the sea. What does this all mean? We're going to talk about it, but for that and more, I want to bring on TJ Ward of the private investigation firm TJ Ward and Associates. Now, TJ was actually the private investigator in the case of Natalee Holloway, the 18-year-old American who died in Aruba back in 2005. It was only until 2023 when Dutch citizen Johan van der Sloot finally admitted to killing Natalee as part of a deal to plead guilty to federal extortion charges. So a lot of similarities, differences there. TJ, so good to have you. I want to start from the beginning here. So the legal challenges. Talk to me about the legal challenges revolving the collection, preservation, confirmation of evidence. I mean, you're talking about a foreign land, but you're also talking about where this scene happened, right? That environment. And then also Fox News is reporting that there was a power outage, and you think about the potential loss of digital evidence, although the hotels come out and said that there was, electricity in the common areas and the surveillance cameras. But talk to me about what we should be thinking about in terms of the collection, preservation, and analyzing this evidence.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. So, some of the all the evidence that's coming up and what the media has is preservation. What may really happen, what the lawyers know about, what the prosecutor knows about, and all this evidence needs to be put together. And as you said, he's a person of interest. He's not a suspect in this. And also, he's now given several statements that we know things have changed. So that kind of bothers me also. Um, I spoke to the mother briefly when she was with the police chief up in Virginia, and she couldn't talk. So I text her all my information, my website. I text her later. I sent her some video of me being on some shows about what I know, and I told her about the voice analysis. And I told her if she would bring me on board, I would raise a GoFundMe to pay for me to come to Dominican Republic. But as of today, I have not heard back from her, which is
Just,
I
just, to,
think is
just to make clear that you're talking about a software that can possibly confirm whether or not someone is telling the truth?
I have a 21st century truth technology software. It was developed in Israel by a firm. It's being used by 14 different countries. I am the only investigator in the country, in the United States, that's licensed to use it. And I can take this software. I used it in law enforcement. I spent 47 years in law enforcement. It's called Layered Voice Analysis 6.50. I can take any voice transmission and analyze it, and I will tell you what's truthful and what's not true. It's 95% accurate. Ironically, it's being used in India, and where this family's
But,
from.
but it's not admissible in a court of law, at least in the United States, that
No more
technology.
admissible than a polygraph is. It's an investigative focused tool for law
Mhm.
enforcement. Matter of fact, what got me involved with the Natalee Holloway case, when I saw these boys, Deepak, Satish, and Vandersloot, talking on TV about what was going on, I started analyzing it. And that's when I picked the phone up and called Beth Holloway and I said, let me tell you what I have. These boys are not being truthful. And then the company that owns voice analysis sent me to Aruba, and I met with law enforcement and the FBI, which they told me they didn't use the polygraph and that wasn't allowed in Aruba. What they don't know, I don't have to have this person in front of me. I can take any transmission live over the phone or from a recording, and I can tell you whether or not they're being truthful.
By the way, we're in the breaking news business, so we're constantly staying up to speed, staying alert on what is happening in these ever-changing stories. And so, not a shocker, I got to drink coffee, but I'm very particular about what I like. I'm very particular about what I put into my body, which is why I'm so happy that we partner with Trade Coffee. It is a great sponsor who, by the way, gave us incredible merch. Look at these mugs, by the way. Look how awesome this is. So I took their quiz, and in under a minute, they matched me with my perfect coffee. You see, the way it works is Trade sources from top independent coffee roasters across the United States, and then they match me to the coffees that I love most based on my taste preferences, and that includes Alma. Never had it before, but it has that medium roast, which I love. I'm always looking for something not so easy to find. It was fresh, it was ready to go, and get this, right now, Trade is exclusively offering our viewers 40% off of their first order at drinktrade.com/sidebar. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/sidebar for 40% off your first order. Hope you can check it out. And that's interesting because Riibe apparently told NBC News that, I'm just trying to help them out. The ocean is a dangerous place because, again, it was reported he was on the beach pointing out into the sea. So, and I'll get a little bit more into that. But first, I was actually thinking about this. If we are thinking the worst here, and her body is found in international waters, and we hope that there's a safe and successful resolution to this, but as each day passes by, you have to be thinking the worst. If authorities are trying to use resources to locate her in a large body of water, and you're talking about international waters here, are there any potential legal territorial issues we should be thinking about? Because again, this is a very unique scene.
Well, the only reason the FBI is there is to help and utilize what they know and cases they've worked with missing persons, just to enhance their investigation. I don't think it would be a problem because it's international water. Very clearly, the Dominican Republic's laws apply there if they find her, not any American laws. So I understand, they're trying to incorporate some, and the media has incorporate things that that apply to the U.S. law, but law in the Dominican Republic is probably a little bit different, the same way it was in Aruba. Laws
Right.
are completely different. So we can't apply laws here in Georgia, in the U.S. and Georgia and so on and so forth to what happens in the Dominican Republic because they have their own laws. The same way when there's a 14-year statute of limitations for murder in Aruba, and that's why they haven't gone after him because we were at 18 years when he finally admitted he had killed her. So they got him in Peru, but and that's where he's facing his time.
Let me ask you a question then. So why would the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, which is from Virginia, where she's from, why would they send investigators to the Dominican Republic? I mean, there is this kind of what seems to be a difference in legal terms, right? You have the Sheriff's Office saying that Riibe's a person of interest. The Dominican authorities say we don't use that term. Now, is it just, terminology, language? But you also wonder about issues of jurisdiction and why legally they are there. They can't make an arrest, right? I mean, what should we be taking away from that?
I think just to bring their expertise to help the Dominican Republic. I mean, I had, these people in these other countries are not up to speed with law enforcement and what can be done in investigations as we are. I mean, we're already trained. Aruba sent some of their investigators to the FBI Academy to be trained. And after the fact, after Natalee went missing, the mere fact, I think they're sending their investigators from Virginia down there just to be present. And I guess because the family's from Virginia and that's where she is. And I think,
Right.
that, they're trying to be helpful. And that's why the sheriff's involved, which is good. I mean, that's good.
Right.
And I'm glad he sent them there. And I'm glad the FBI's there to help them because you're going to get some top-notch investigation instead of a country that we may not know what their legal ratifications are.
And I will get to that investigative part as well, because I think there was another big legal update that we'll talk about there. But you want to talk a legal issue. You want to talk about potential legal liability. There has been a lot talking about this resort. So even putting aside, let's say this was a case of an accidental drowning. Outlets like Fox News, and they did great reporting on this, have been talking about, well, what was going on at that resort? As I mentioned, there's been reports that the power went out, that the AC shut down. Guests had to go, down to the beach. Think of Sudiksha going down to the beach. Now, apparently, the resort came out and said that the common areas had power. There was surveillance footage. But you also think about the fact that, were people not able to properly charge their cell phones, get out messages? Is that a conflict? But now the hotel, the resort apparently had warning signs that there were sharp waves afoot. But you also think about a spotlight being put on this hotel. And of course, from a legal point of view, would it be we did everything we could in our power to properly warn our guests and prevent our guests from engaging in risky behavior, going down to the beach and swimming when there was sharp waves. But that, is that a question versus recklessness? And was it the responsibility of the guests, And so you think about what role the hotel plays in this. Talk to me about what you're thinking about, because I think that's an important key element in this story.
I think where you're coming from is real important because if there is, the family may have liability against the resort if they end up finding her body and see that she did drown or something. Maybe they didn't hold enough resources to the fact to protect guests that are there. So I think that they're worried about they may get sued in the course of their daughter going missing. So liability wise, that's why I think all this is coming out. But one of the things that bothers me about this guy, even though he passed out and was intoxicated and so on and so forth, and claims that he grabbed her by the arm and waiting 12 hours to communicate with somebody about this girl missing is I think it's a big point in this case. Very big point.
Let's talk about that. So we'll move aside from the idea of, a resort putting this red flag warning about the waves. Apparently also in January, there were 4 tourists who died as well. It's a really sad situation. But let's talk about what he said or allegedly said, because I think another big potential legal issue came out more over the weekend, because it is being reported that Riibe's attorney indicated to NBC his passport was confiscated by the authorities in the DR. His lawyers telling NBC in an email over the weekend that Riibe has been confined to the hotel since the investigation began. He is permanently escorted by the police anywhere he goes, so no, he's not free to leave. And let me add to that, according to People, his family explained, despite his full willingness to cooperate, Josh has been detained under irregular conditions and subjected to extensive questioning without the presence of official translators or legal counsel until Wednesday, March 12th. He has remained in his hotel room under police surveillance and has been repeatedly taken to the police station since March 6, where he has been interrogated for long hours. This situation has raised serious concerns within his family, which has led us to retain legal counsel to initiate legal actions, ensuring his safety and the protection of his rights throughout this process. Now, TJ, you and I both know if this were to happen in the United States, this could be potentially quite problematic for a future case against the suspect. I'm not saying their criminal charge is going to be filed against him or he did anything wrong, but you know the way in which somebody is questioned and the way in which somebody is detained is a key factor here. Now, do you think that there is a potential violation of his rights? Are you concerned by anything that's being reported here?
Well, the problem is, again, we go back to Dominican Republic law. We gotta deal with their law. What are their law? We need to see what their laws say about what they're doing, not what the laws here apply to the United States. That's the problem. And again, when you go to another country, you're abiding by their rules and regulations, even though if you don't know what they are, not what they are here in the U.S. And we both know that. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously, there would be great concerns. Does he have a local lawyer or does he have a lawyer from the U.S.?
So my understanding is he has, I believe, local counsel, but he might have counsel here in the United States as well. Could be wrong about that, but what I will tell you, I did a little research into Dominican Republic law. And the thing that my understanding is could be situations where evidence is inadmissible at a criminal trial. But according to a U.S. Department of State 2018 report on Dominican Republic law, let me just lay this out. The law provides for a presumption of innocence, the right to confront or question witnesses, and the right against self-incrimination. Also, the law provides that an accused person may be detained for up to 48 hours without a warrant before being presented to judicial authorities. The law also permits police to apprehend without an arrest warrant any person caught in the act of committing a crime or reasonably linked to a crime, such as in cases involving hot pursuit or escaped prisoners. Police sometimes detain suspects for investigation or interrogation longer than 48 hours. Police often detained all suspects and witnesses to a crime. Successful habeas corpus hearings, which in the United States is a way to say that your detention's unlawful, reduced abuses of the law significantly. There was a functioning bail system and a system of house arrest, but these provisions were rarely used in cases involving foreigners. Now, TG, I don't know if that applies here because it's not necessarily being conducted as a criminal investigation, but my reading of it, kind of similar, right?
Right. He's a person of interest, though. And I think they've gone a couple of steps further, being more than a person of interest. And obviously, from what you just told me from law that you researched. So,
well, they wouldn't consider him a person of interest, right? That's local authorities that's Virginia authorities saying it, not the Dominican.
Right.
But there seems to be more there. I mean, the fact that the Dominican Republic AG questioned him on Saturday. What are your thoughts on that?
That's higher up, and that is more than probably what would have happened in a normal investigation. The AG coming in, but I think the AG has come in because of all the publicity that this case has gotten, is why they're involved now. And the same thing happened in Aruba, and but I mean, there's new things there happening now that we know about, and there when he extorted Beth Holloway and the FBI questioned him with Natalee's mother's lawyer, and we handed him $25,000 in cash, he should have been arrested right there, but he wasn't. So there's certain things that happen in certain places. So I think we're just going to have to watch and see what comes up. But his lawyer there he's got to represent him. And if they're violating laws or on the Dominican Republic, then they need to be addressed. And but right now, everybody, their biggest concern in that country, the same way with Aruba, is losing business in that country because of what's going on. And they had that problem in Aruba with all the media, every media outlet in the world was in Aruba when Natalee Holloway was going on. And the media has picked up now in Dominican Republic, and their thoughts of losing business in their country because of this is a big deal. But we also have to look that these kids that go down to these other countries aren't looking to the fact of safety. They're looking to be able to drink, party, have a good time. The U.S. also placed the Dominican Republic a challenge, a place that had problems with rape, murder, robbery. So they don't think about that. They don't think about that. So something's happened here. You know, they had two individuals, I understand, in the Dominican Republic that drowned a few months ago, and they found them very quickly. So that's why one of the concerns, if she drowned, and all the searches has all been done now with helicopters and people in the water and professionals going in, divers, why haven't they found anything? I just got a little concerned whether she's in the water or not.
I can understand that. I can understand that. And look, from the resort's point of view, that's why they've been so adamant to say we've had red flag warnings in place. It's
Right.
false information about the electricity going out where it got out. Now, I did want to ask you about this, though. If he does end up, as I mentioned, Riibe's passport was confiscated. I'll ask you whether or not that seems standard or unusual to you in an investigation like this. But let me also ask you this. If there's a situation where he does end up leaving the Dominican Republic and there's an update in the investigation, how easily will it be to get him back to the DR? Because I believe, in a really extreme circumstance, there is an extradition treaty in place if it comes to that. But A, what do you think it's unusual that his passport was confiscated? And if there's a situation where he is able to leave, how easily will he be able to be brought back if there is some sort of update in the investigation?
I will tell you, I have another country right now in another case in Anguilla, if you know where Anguilla is.
Yeah.
We had two people die there, and the four survivors that were there have been subpoenaed to come back. They left Anguilla, and they're now in California. They have left, and they've subpoenaed them to come back for the hearing with the about the autopsies and all that were done, and they won't come back. So that may be what they're looking at, the same thing. If he comes back to the U.S., he may not come back to the Dominican Republic if something comes up if he leaves. So I think that's a concern.
Yeah, it was just something that I was thinking about. And by the way, back to your earlier point, it was reported also by NBC that Regional Red Cross Director Fernando Placeres told the outlet yesterday that he had no further information on whether a body had been found, which does bring me back to a couple more points that I wanted to get to, the legal points. So as we're talking about, right, the way you question somebody is very important, particularly for the admissibility of evidence. And the interviews that he apparently conducted, I want to talk about it. So this is being reported by Fox 5 News that when Riibe was interviewed by investigators in the DR for reportedly 4 hours, he answered more than 50 questions. And the outlet actually got a copy of the transcript that was translated. And here are just some of the questions. How can we verify that everything you have said is true? What did you tell your friend when he asked about the missing girl, Konanki Sudiksha? What do you think about Sudiksha's disappearance? Did Sudiksha know how to swim or not? Do you remember if Sudiksha made any gestures or screamed while in the sea? Did you inform the authorities of the hotel about what happened with you and the girl on the beach? Did you tell your friend what happened between you and the girl on the beach? How do you feel about this situation? And it also should be noted that according to Fox 5, Riibe apparently refused to answer several questions, including his thoughts on her disappearance, why he didn't alert the hotel or authorities about what happened. And according to the Daily Mail, he reportedly replied, "My lawyers advised me not to answer that question, and I follow their advice." Now, TJ, what do you think of those questions? Do you anticipate any issues? Because what did I think? I was saying, well, perhaps, is there an issue with the language? Is there an issue with translation? Is there an issue in terms of what he was answering and what he wasn't? Again, if it's the whole name of the game is, were his rights violated? Was he improperly questioned? Was there a translation issue? Me, the lawyer, and me, following these cases all the time. These are things I'm thinking.
Okay, I totally agree with what you're saying, and will they interview him again? Will there be more questions? Probably. Whether he answered them or what he didn't answer properly is going to be one of the things. But again, how does the law apply in the Dominican Republic compared to what it would apply to the U.S. And you and I both are sitting here and we know great what the law is here, but does the same law that we're thinking about here apply to what goes on in the Dominican Republic?
Right.
That's the big question.
Right.
So
well, let me ask you this. So talking law enforcement, it was reported that Interpol reportedly launched a worldwide yellow notice that notifies police in all member countries of Sudiksha's disappearance, particularly important for border officials, right? Missing persons cases where people could be transported over country lines. Feels like a significant development. How does that affect the process, TJ?
well, I think it's good though that they put that out just in case she was kidnapped, so other people in other countries will be on the lookout for any evidence that may come up. I think that is a good part that went out. I really do, because if she has been taking someone into another country, then other countries will be aware to be on the lookout with law enforcement. I really do. I think it's a good point because of the mere fact that some of the things that we have learned in Aruba, Natalee may have been taken off the island and taken somewhere else. So, and we know some additional information now that's being looked into. So, with other countries having alert about being on the lookout for this woman, I think it's good. I really do.
There's always red tape. There's always bureaucracy. Do you anticipate those kinds of issues with a case that really has garnered national headlines, but that interagency, intra-agency cooperation, coordination, especially if you're dealing with multiple countries or multiple territories, any concern there with something like this?
No, I don't believe so. And
Okay.
I'm a former law enforcement officer, so I'm looking at both ends. I'm looking for the part working as with a lawyer like you, and then also looking at the fact that I worked in law enforcement to look at both ends. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's a problem. I really don't.
So one last point I wanted to mention, I mentioned the family of Joshua Riibe, quite concerned about him. Well, let's also talk about Sudiksha's family. They told USA Today that, quote, they are going through an incredibly difficult time. They are deeply saddened. They kindly requested privacy as we cope with this challenging moment together. And ABC 7 is reporting that Congressman Suhas Subramaniam from Virginia said the family also requested that people, quote, not post videos, pictures, or unsubstantiated claims about Sudiksha, especially surveillance footage of her in the Dominican Republic. TJ, let's end here. Talk to us about why that could be such an issue in this case.
Well, I think that I wouldn't have a problem. I mean, whatever video or whatever evidence they had being together, where they give an example when they showed video about all the crowd when they were walking down the sidewalk going towards the beach, and then of course I haven't not seen the video yet from the bar that they had apparently that's now come up. So I mean I don't know how their feelings about videos and all come out. Their videos and all may be helpful in the course of their case, and I know that it's probably, I mean, this lady and this family is probably really torn up about their daughter missing. I mean, I can understand. I mean, that's traumatic, when your daughter's missing and not know where your family member is. I mean, that's just traumatic. And I just think of them saying that they don't want things to come out about her that may look bad and not make her look good. But the mere fact she is missing, and we got to take those videos may be evidence for law enforcement. And but anyway, I understand where they're coming from, and because of them, it's a family member. They don't want anything bad to come up about their daughter at this point in time.
Of course, and our hearts and our prayers go out to them. And look, thank goodness they have what appears to be, surveillance footage that was intact. I mean, at least something. If there really was a power outage, I mean, thank goodness that's at least a crucial piece of evidence, not even in a potential investigation, just a clue as to what happened, tracking the whereabouts, the timeline of what happened to Sudiksha. So we will keep a very careful eye on it. I'm happy we had a chance to talk about some of these legal issues that may be coming up. But TJ Ward, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you so much for the important and great work that you do.
Thank you. I just hope the family would call me for me to come on board with them and try to help them and be able to work with law enforcement on their behalf.
hopefully if they see this, maybe they'll be have an opportunity to speak with you further. But TJ, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.